Yo, what's going on, snipers, and welcome back to our Albuquerque Aliens Draft to Glory franchise mode here in NHL 25. So, in last episode, if you didn't catch it, we had the off season, and our team has lost one interesting player, that being Mr. Bogosian, unfortunately. However, we do still have a pretty good looking roster going into the season, and I don't think it was as substantial as a loss as we were originally thinking, because we do have Steen, who has jumped up to an 85, listed technically as a second line forward, so he has jumped to that second line spot. Peterson's now an 81, actually listed as a third line checking forward, and also the addition of Hector Cashman, who we drafted in the 5th round, is an absolutely huge one for that 4th line. So we do have still that good depth down the middle, and obviously, hopefully, Cashman can become a top 6 center at some point, but for right now, this is a very solid looking roster. Like I'd say, our top 9 is very good. Our 4th line still maybe a little bit of a work in progress, a bit of a risky line, because Zetterberg, obviously not known as his defensive player, he's a sniper. He does have some okay defensive awareness though, but he definitely isn't a defensive guy by any stretch. Mark Daig's more of a grinder, so he is okay defensively. He has been actually plus in his first 2 NHL seasons, but he's not going to really do too much down there as a 4th line option. And then I don't know what the heck Hector Cashman is going to bring. I think he could actually bring some offense as well as defense, but obviously he's kind of a mixture of both. He had some really good seasons in the AHL, 51 points and in 71 points. Looks like he's a little bit more on the aggressive side of things as of last season. Actually, he had 88 penalty minutes this season before he only had 32, so I don't know if he's going to be taking a lot of penalties as a 4th line guy. Looks like according to his aggressiveness, he's only an 82 down there, so he might not be super aggressive, but it'll be interesting to see what that 4th line kind of simulates like, since it's all kind of younger players. And then from a defensive standpoint, we're running Bell and Tuzolino, Narena and Tulipov, Lee, and Zach Hurd is going to be making it to the NHL after 1 season in the AHL. So excited to see what he could do. Hopefully he is pretty good. He had a really rough time in the AHL playoffs last year, as you can see, with a -7 through 3 games, but regular season, 45 points plus 54. So I think he could definitely help us out offensively. Hopefully he has decent enough defense as well, so that way we could play good in front of Spezza and also youngster Jason Giunta, which should be exciting too. So very excited to see what happens. We do also have injuries on, so we do have all these guys as depth options. Ilya Bure is finally getting his chance to be a depth forward, so it'll be interesting to see if he gets into the lineup at any point this season, and if he does, how good will he do? So very excited just to see what that happens with our depth and all that. Hopefully we do not have any substantial injuries though as the season goes on, because obviously we want to make it back to the playoffs and all that type of thing. But anyways, before we get into simulating another season and all that sort of fun stuff, let's get in your guys' comments and see what you guys have to say about last episode. And then we'll probably, I don't know if I'll do any season goals this season, because to be honest, I feel like most at this point, maybe we're putting too much pressure on our guys by giving them goals all the time. Maybe let them play for a season and see if they could actually reach some goal totals that they've never reached before without actually putting that pressure on them, because maybe they have too much pressure to live up to that expectation. But what I wanted to do was I definitely want to take a look at those new guys on the roster, what they look like. So we'll take a look at like Giunta, Hurd, also the 4th liner Cashman, see what their faces look like, and then we'll get into the season simulation. So the first comment is from Sound Taco, says, it wasn't the greatest draft, but you still have enough prospects in the system to be to where it shouldn't hurt the immediate term. That would have been a nasty bug if Spezza was to hold out because of the clause you couldn't give him. I was worried Hurd wouldn't pan out, but I'm so glad he's back in the NHL. Also, didn't you have a Ludwig Enroth in your Jet series? Kind of funny if so. And I think I did have a Ludwig Enroth. I know I had somebody with the last name Enroth. I can't remember his first name. But yeah, in my Winnipeg Jet series, I'm pretty sure I had a player with that name. But he had, I think, low lead potential at one point, and then he dropped down to a top 6 and all that stuff, if I remember right. But yeah, with the stuff with like the Spezza thing where he might have been holding out because of a bug, that would have been really risky, because it said that he wasn't willing to accept what we gave him because of the extension didn't have a clause in place or something like that, so he didn't want to accept it. But we were already in like September almost by then, so we had to kind of just overpay and hope that he'd accept, which he did. So I'm glad that actually he accepted that. And yeah, I was a little bit also worried about Zach Hurd though not making the NHL, but it seems like he got enough growth in the AHL and played good enough that he is growing actually like he should. I forget how high we drafted him. 19th overall. Yeah, so it's kind of a weird one because I feel like a lot of top fours, they don't really pan out as good as possible, but this guy seems to be developing the right way. Like I said, great numbers in the AHL last season. Playoffs, not so much, but he did have 10 shots on goal, so he was trying to get the offense going, but seems like our team just really shot the bed in that first round playoffs. And the last and final comment is from Sean Corville, who says, A- or A+ coach would be for sure. The B coach will most likely cost you the season sim compared to the higher rated ones. So it all depends on the risk versus the season. If you want to risk the season for a wildcard spot instead of a top spot in the standings to maybe draft better if the series ends quickly, the coach might cost you there as well. It's all about risk versus reward in this year. Reward year on this one. Yeah. Okay, so now that I've actually butchered that comment completely, I know what you mean. So basically, we're going to go on over to our coaching staff. We were looking at a bunch of our coaches here, and one of them actually has a really good scheme fit. Like, he has a 68% scheme fit, but he's a B-rated coach. So he's saying that would basically cost us a really good spot in the playoffs potentially, so we might miss the playoffs even because of that coach. So it's probably best not to have him as the head coach. He was saying either the A+ or the A- one would make the most sense. Quincy Nielsen's a 62%. He was our head coach last season. And then Wharton was, I think, a 63, if I remember right. Yeah, 63. So I am going to go back to Wharton, even though he is technically a little bit worse, just to start at least the season and see how he plays as a head coach. Considering he's a generalist, too, he works a little bit better with our chemistry. I'll show you guys the chemistry update with him in it. It definitely improves it a little bit more so on, I think it was on the defensive side of things, if I remember right. But you can see with the chemistry with this coach, seems to work pretty decently. And in the defense, you can see is much better. It doesn't have that -2 or 3 or whatever it was on that top 6 pairing. So I think we'll definitely run with this guy as our head coach and hope that he gets us into the playoffs. Obviously, like I said, if we're like halfway through the season and we're struggling to find ways to win games, maybe we adjust it and make the other guy head coach instead. Not fire the current head coach, but just kind of demote him and stuff like that. I think that could work out as well. But I think this team should be good enough to make it back to the playoffs, permitted that guys like Stefan Steen are really good for that second line since Bogosian left the team. So now that that is done, I think we'll take a look at some of the new players. So we'll take a look at Cashman. We'll take a look at Zach Hurd. We will take a look at Jason Giunta. And I guess we'll take a look at... Did I ever take a look at Ahin? And I feel like I did, right? Way back in the day. Maybe I didn't. I don't even know. I don't think I took a look at Ahin or Bure. I could take a look at those guys too. So let's go into seeing what those guys look like. Hopefully the game does not crash. I don't like going into the screen too much because of the old crashes that used to happen before a bug fix. But let's take a first look here at Hector Cashman. I'm excited for Cashman. I think he's going to do a good job on that fourth line, being a good defensive forward. Hopefully he doesn't have a bad plus-minus. This is what Hector's looking like. Let me actually move my face so you guys can kind of see a little bit more in depth. He does have the wild man beard too, so that's kind of an interesting one. So yeah, this is Cashman. How far does his beard get? All the way to the end. So he almost looks like basically like Brent Burns. He's got a similar hairstyle, I think, to Brent Burns too from back in the day. Rocking the number 94. So there is the Cashman. We'll see if he cashes in with some good performances in the regular season. We'll also take a look at Ahin, and I guess even though he's not as important since he's just a depth forward, let's just take a look and see what his face looks like. See if it looks like a stereotypical Swedish guy, I guess, or Finnish guy. Yeah, Ahin is a Finnish last name. I was thinking of Swedish for some reason, but some Finns play in Sweden, you know. Yeah, so he's got lame chops like a lot of guys seem to generate. He kind of looks like a Wolverine type guy, so that's kind of an interesting one. Not as much like Hugh Jackman, but still he kind of looks like a Wolverine type of thing with that beard. So there's two guys. What else we got here? Let's go down to Ilya Bure, who has played a long time in the AHL at this point. Like, he's literally played in the AHL for like 6 seasons at least. 7 seasons, it looks like, without any NHL experience. He used to have low elite potential. Obviously not going to reach that potential, but maybe he becomes a solid depth forward for us this season. So let's see what he's looking like. All right. Looks pretty basic. Oh, okay. He's a lot older looking than he thought. So all those years in the AHL gave him a bunch of gray hair, apparently. That's kind of funny. I don't know if I could get too close to his face. There you go. Yeah, no beard, but yeah, all those years in the AHL took a toll on him because obviously the AHL team hasn't been super good. They only made the playoffs 1 time. So worse than us, technically. So there is Bure. We head on over to the right wing side of things. There's nobody. Defense, there's only Zach Kerr to take a look at. And then we have Jason Giunta, which I'm excited for Giunta. I think he's going to do good. He was a high starter when we drafted him, so maybe he could take over as a starting goalie for Spezza at some point. But here is Zach Kerr, the young defenseman. Also has lamb chops too. It's kind of interesting. Nice little hair too. Okay, I like it. Solid look. Number 77, so maybe models his game after Ray Bourque or something like that, even though he never would have got to watch Ray Bourque considering how young he is in 2035. He's probably like, oh, his grandfather used to watch Ray Bourque or something like that, or his dad used to watch Ray Bourque. I don't even know. And our last one, Jason Giunta. I don't expect him to have crazy good pads. It looks like his potential has jumped to medium elite from high starter, so that's good. What do we got? So in terms of gear, that looks like, I don't know what Vaughn pads those are. I can't remember. Vaughn V7. So he's wearing Vaughn V7s. I could adjust it to the colors of the team, but not going to do that. Not just right now. And also his mask is an Anaheim one to default. But what does his face look like? Okay, he looks pretty basic. Yeah, pretty basic. Kind of like the hair at least reminds me of Brock Besser. I'm not too sure about the face. Probably not the face, but there is our new players on the team. We'll see how good they do this season. Hopefully they have a good rookie year, and hopefully this team makes it back to the playoffs again. So now that that's all good, I think we're ready to start simulating, because I don't think there's anything else I need to do before the season starts. Yeah, I don't think there is. Okay. All right. Will this team make it back to the playoffs again? I think we definitely should, as long as this coach works good enough again. And let's see what he thinks about our team. Does he think we can make it back to the playoffs again after last season? Let's see. Looking at this roster, this team is good enough to compete for the Cup. That is my goal for his team this season. So he thinks we can make it to the Cup finals this season, just like the other coach did last year. So we'll see if that works out this time around. Obviously, last time around we got very close, but we didn't get it. Hopefully we could get back to exactly where we were last season at least. So let's go through the preseason and see what this team is able to do. And then we'll get into the actual season itself. Preseason obviously doesn't matter too much, but we'll see who ends up leading us in points during the preseason. I'm guessing it's probably going to be somebody on the top line. We do actually need to offer Ristolainen his extension already before the season starts. I think that's probably a good plan. Even though it might be expensive, it's just he's going to be very, very pricey. But 5-2-1 in the preseason. Who led us in points? Probably Risto, right? Yep, Risto with 11 points. Yeah, Risto's going to want to get paid big bucks if he doesn't get his contract throughout the season. So let's already take a look and see what he's asking for. He doesn't care about getting a clause, which is interesting. Does that extra year make that big of a difference? Not really. Okay. So I could lock him up for 8 years. The question is, he has full organizational interest, so this might be the lowest he's willing to take for the 8 years. If I do 7 years, I can knock this down by a substantial amount probably. So maybe I'll just do a 7-year deal. And then we could just sign him back up for 1-year deals until he retires at that point. But yeah, since he has he has a full thing of organizational interest, we should be easily able to drop this down substantially, which is good. So maybe we could get him for like 11.625 for 7 years. So it is a bit pricey, but it's not terrible, I would say, considering what he brings to this team. So will Ristolainen accept? That is the question. He says he'll take a few days to mull over it, which makes sense. But yeah, hopefully he accepts that before the season starts, because then we don't have to worry about him becoming a free agent in the offseason. But that does mean we probably lose more players on our roster come this offseason. I know it's an expensive contract to give, but I'd prefer to get him back than a lot of other players. So considering we locked up Staubitz, we might as well lock him up too. And he says, I accept your offer enthusiastically. You met my contract duration expectations well. Nice. So we could have maybe even got him for less than that. I don't even know, to be honest, but I am very happy to have Ristolainen on board for 7 years starting next season. That will give him a chance to potentially retire with the Albuquerque Aliens as he deserves. So, all right, let's get into the season sim. We'll go 1 month at a time because we have injuries on. Let's hope that this team stays nice and healthy, and let's hope that we simulate really well. So let's go 1 month at a time. Take it a little bit slow. As we lose our first game in the season 5-2, that's not ideal. But we do win against Utah 2-1. So 2 good defensive games in a row now as we beat Tampa. So the first game's kind of an outlier at this point. Off to a good start. All right. As long as we have a good positive record after the first month, I'll be happy. Game against Vegas is another loss, and we've lost back-to-back now. 3 straight losses, all right, but we do respond with a win. And game against Calgary is another win. So a bit of an inconsistent first month. I'm pretty sure that was the case when we always had Wharton as head coach, but 5-4 in our first 9 games. It's not terrible. But obviously, if we're kind of playing like that at the end of November, it's a little bit worrisome because we should be well above 500 in my opinion, unless players dropped off after the preseason, which could be the case. But let's go to December the 1st and see what we do in this month of action, because it's definitely a much more busy month than October was. We do get a win there, we get another win there, and we get a win there. Okay, maybe the team's starting to finally find itself. And we already have like 3 shutouts as a team this season, I think, if I'm not mistaken. So we are playing some good defensive games too, which is very impressive. Obviously, the defensive core should be stronger than in years past with the addition of Hurd being on it. Excited to see what he does in terms of point production and defensive play in his first season. Yeah, this is looking okay so far. We are losing more games than I'd like to, but there is the first injury of the season. Sergei Tulipov has been injured with a strained hamstring. He's out till December the 6th. That's unfortunate. We do have a depth defenseman. I'm trying to remember who the depth defenseman is. Who is the depth defenseman? I don't remember, but I'm just going to go add player to the lineup at this point. But at least it looks like the team is still finding ways to win games for the most part. We do lose to the Canucks. We beat Buffalo. Game against Toronto to end the month is a win as well. Another shutout. We are 16-8 in our first 24 games. We are in a wild card spot, though, so that's actually kind of scary. I didn't realize this division is so tight again, because the last team is the Dallas Stars on 22 points. We're only 10 points up on them in the wild card spot. The top team in the division has only 36 points. Yikes. What about the other division? Yeah, literally if we were in the Pacific Division, we'd be in first place right now. So we're just in a tight-ass Central Division, but hopefully we find a way to continue to win games, because obviously if we lose too much in a row, there's teams like the Blues, the Predators that could easily get back into the playoff hunt too. So we do have to be a little bit worried about our division, I guess. Let's go to December 31st, see what we do in December. Hopefully we could get some Christmas magic on our side or something like that. You never know. Considering it's now actually December in real life and there's snow outside, I don't like that. But Steen did drop down to an 84. Peterson's up to an 82. Okay, so there was some overall changes, it looks like, after the preseason. We are going to take... Oh, yeah, it was Whitfield that was the depth defender. But we'll take him out. Tulipov is back in. Hopefully... Actually, Tulipov's not even fully healthy yet. I thought I had it turned on to when he's fully healthy. That's a bit risky. And we'll see. I don't think he's going to get re-injured here. He should be fully healthy here. We lose in a shootout to Seattle. Game against the Jets in our division. We beat them in overtime. That's a nice little win. Hopefully we can win a lot of these divisional type of matchups, because that will help us a lot in terms of playoff success, or making it to the playoffs at least. We're on a good little winning streak after that shootout loss. As Hector Cashman, the youngster, has been injured with a sore knee, which means there is going to be a chance for... I don't think it's going to be Burry that gets put in the spot. It's probably going to be Ahinen, because he plays center, likely. We win another game there. Damn, we're on a good little streak here. We're up to second place in our division as Cashman is back. Yeah, it was Ahinen that got to potentially play that game. Let's see, did he get to play a game? Yeah, he did. So hopefully Burry gets a chance at some point, but I'm not hoping for a major injury here. Cashman dropped down to a 79. I don't know why. Maybe it's just because of him being a rookie or being injured. Let me stop the sim for a second here, because I cannot see what's going on. Damn, we still have not lost a game this month, because technically we lost in a shootout, so that's a point at least. But we have not had an actual full-on regulation loss since the 26th, so almost a full-on month, which is kind of insane. So this team is simulating really well in December. Game against Tampa is a win there. Game against Dallas is a win there. Damn, we're literally going to go perfect almost this month, are we? Watch, we're going to lose to Nashville now that I say that. Zetterberg's been injured. Maybe that puts Burry in the lineup. We'll see what ends up happening there. There's a win, 5-1. Yeah, so literally that entire month, we only had one loss, and it was in a shootout. So that's a good month for points. A very good month for points. And we're on a really good winning streak here, as of late, too. We're now first place in the Central Division on 55 points. Wildcard's on 50. The last team that's not in a playoff spot in our division has 41, which technically in the Pacific Division would be second place. That's actually kind of insane. God damn. And Dallas is well on the bottom, which is kind of insane too. All right. Well, we're playing good so far. Let's keep the fireworks going. Go another month. See how we do in 2036 as we're now into January. And, of course, our first game of the new year. We literally lost in regulation. I knew it was going to happen eventually, but damn. Back-to-back losses. Now, Cade Del Monte has broken his wrist. Oh, boy. Okay, that's a pretty substantial injury. I got to go replace player, but let me stop the sim here for a second. That's not good. That's not good at all. So, Ahinen was in the top line. Why was Ahinen on the top line? I didn't think Del Monte was playing top line. Did it readjust my lines again? Maybe? I don't really know what's going on here. I guess that gets Doig into the top 6, though, which is nice. We are going to get Bure over to here. And who is coming back? Zetterberg's not fully healthy yet. But I will probably put him in where Ahinen is right now. Oh, man. Yeah, that injury till Del Monte, because that's almost the rest of the season, kind of sucks. But that will give Ilya Bure a big opportunity, potentially, to prove himself. He's played 3 games with no points so far, but let me see. Because I'd prefer him to get ice time on some of these areas. Maybe not. We'll see how Bure does, but obviously we could put somebody else up into that spot. But, yeah, I'm a little bit worried about playing somebody like Bure, but it has to be done because Del Monte's regular season is potentially done. He might be back for the start of the playoffs, but that's one of the things why I don't like injuries really hitting much in the Draft to Glory, because I have to play players that I don't really want to play. And there's 2 wins in a row after Del Monte's injury. Okay, maybe we're going to still do good without Del Monte. And then he's going to come back with a fire under his ass and help us win the Stanley Cup or something. One could hope, right? One could hope. I'm interested to see what Bure's stats are going to look like after this, though, because he's obviously going to get a lot more of an opportunity to play some games with that injury. So he finally gets a chance to prove himself. Jason Giunta, the youngster that's in net, the backup goaltender, has injured himself with a hip pointer. He's out till March the 8th. Damn, we're actually suffering some bigger injuries than I was expecting. So unfortunately, the youngster is out. Semenov is going to have to get called back up, but that means he would go through waivers when we send him back down. Hopefully he doesn't get claimed, but he is going to have to go through waivers. But at least we do have a backup goalie we could use. Like, that's good that I re-signed Semenov, because I do not feel safe by calling up somebody else at the moment. So Harakala, the elite goalie, is going to get a chance to be a starter in the HL for a bit with a generated guy in Zikov, who we never drafted. He's going to be the backup down there in Burnaby. But at least our goaltending still looks good enough, but still without Giunta and Del Monte, kind of sucks, man. Kind of sucks. Hopefully we stay healthy the rest of the way, because or else that could definitely hurt our record this season. But it seems like we're still winning games without those guys, which is kind of surprising. Game against St. Louis is an overtime win. We're winning a lot of games in overtime, too, I feel like, for that matter. So we might be a clutch team, so that's good. We do lose to Ottawa 8-4. Game against Philadelphia to wrap up January. It is a 6-5 loss. So 36-12-1. We are still first place in our division, tied with the Blackhawks. But we have more regulation wins at the moment. So looking pretty good at this point. Let's continue going and see what we do in the month of February. Obviously, we'll take a look at trades that happen at the deadline too. But yeah, hopefully this team just continues to win games despite the injury troubles. And of course, we get another injury. Tulipov has been injured for the 2nd time this season with an upper body injury. I would tell May to 10th? How is it May to 10th for an upper body injury? That's a long-term upper body injury. Like, what happened? Because usually when upper body injuries happen, I feel like it's day-to-day almost kind of thing. But May to 10th, he won't be back till like the 2nd round of the playoffs. Why are we getting injuries like that? What the hell? Okay. Well, that's going to give a big chance for Whitfield, but that does make our defense quite a bit weaker. So I do not like that. We just lost 2 straight games after that. That's not good. Let me just go full screen for a second, because I am going to go to our lineup here and not look at the stats. And I'm going to readjust our lineup. I just don't want to see who's leading us in points. All right, so in terms of our forwards, I mean, we look still pretty much okay. It's just the defense I'm a little bit worried about having Whitfield up there. So can I do any adjustments? Yes, I can. Lee looks good there. What about Hurd? Same thing. All right, we'll keep it like that then. We'll get Lee onto this unit. I almost forgot about putting it back there. We'll put Lee back with Norena and Hardwood Whitfield. And then goaltending still looks okay. So we do still look like an okay team, but I am kind of a bit worried with these injuries happening, with how long-term they are. Like, there's 3 injuries already. Our only depth forward left is Ahinen, so hopefully we don't have to use him as well. Okay, let me close my eyes again and go back to the calendar. Not looking at player stats and all. Boom. Okay, we are good. We are good. I just don't want to spoil anything for you guys in terms of who's leading in points and all that as well, because it's good to be surprised a little bit. All right, let's go to the 29th, see what we can do. I guess it's a leap year in 2036. Game against Vancouver. With the adjustments, we win 8-2. Okay, that's a good response after losing 8-3. We then beat Buffalo. Game against Toronto is a loss. That's okay. We're almost on 40 wins already this season, which is better than expected. Another overtime win. I feel like we've won so many games in OT. Game against Winnipeg is a loss. Carolina is a win. All right. We're definitely not playing as good with all these injuries, but we're still winning some games, which is great to see. Fight through that adversity. We beat the Oilers 8-1. Damn. All right. So we're still having good offensive efforts. Game against Pittsburgh is a 5-0 shutout, so there's another shutout for us this season. And let's go to a day after the deadline, I guess, and see what we do against Colorado to wrap up February. It is, I don't see what happened. Let's just go past this. 3-2 shootout win, I think it said. Yep, okay. So 46-16-1, technically at the deadline. Now we're going to see what team type of trades happened around the league. I mean, there's probably nobody important that got dealt, but obviously we got to take a look at that. I'm not going to spoil anything for you guys in points again, just because I think it's good to kind of just go into it without knowing who's leading us. I didn't want to go back to the calendar. I accidentally pressed X. Man. I just don't want to see who's leading points and all that and how good we're doing as a team, really. Okay, there we go. There we go. Let's go back to this and see who's got dealt at the 2036 deadline. Anybody that I recognize that's not Matt Duchene, because it's way too late for him to be still playing. Ilya Heinola getting dealt to Washington with Torgerson. What else we got here? Kirill Marchenko to New Jersey with Jordan Gavin, I should say. Sam Dickinson got dealt to New Jersey. Interesting. Okay. What else there is? Probably most of these guys are generated at this point. Martin Ferravari getting dealt to Florida, looks like. Anybody else that I recognize? Ty Nelson to Washington. Yeah, at this point we might not. Oh, okay. So Jameson Bogosian, our former top 2 center. Carolina has traded him in his first season there to the Calgary Flames in exchange for 2 second-round picks. I'm kind of surprised he got dealt because he did sign a modified no-trade clause, but he gets dealt in the first season of his contract. So I am very curious to see what Bogosian's stats are looking like at the end of the year, but I'm kind of surprised he got dealt. But now he's in the Western Conference again, so that's a bit scary. Wasn't expecting him to get dealt right away. Sebastian Costa to Dallas, Farabee and Addison to Pittsburgh. All right, and that's it. All right. So let's go back on over to this screen again, and let me go back to the calendar. Boom. And I will go back to this screen again. And let's get the rest of the season simulated. But I am kind of concerned that Bogosian's probably not playing super well if Carolina's to deal him away. Or he's playing super well and Carolina's not playing well as a team. So they're like, hey, we're going to trade him away. So it will be interesting to see if we end up having to play Calgary in the playoffs at any point. But let's go to goaltending here, and we could take Semenov out now. We'll put Gionta in. We'll keep Semenov up here for the time being. Actually, Gionta's not even fully healthy. Why is it giving me players back that aren't fully healthy? Because I thought I had it turned on to the point where it basically, once they're fully healthy, it notifies me. Oh, man. I gotta go back to editing our lines again. I'm not going to look. You guys could potentially look all you want, but I'm not going to look at the player stats because I do not want to see. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, let me go back to edit lines here. Yeah, I thought it would notify me when they're fully healthy, not when they're, like, still a little bit injured. Because I don't want somebody like Gianna to get re-injured on this team. Yeah, he's still injured. What the hell, man? Oh, my goodness. We're going to end up getting spoiled on this calendar part, which is not good. Let's just go back to here again. I really hope that we don't get spoiled on any player stats because I kind of just want to be surprised at the end. Okay, maybe he's back now. Let's go one more day just to play it safe. All right, now he should be back. Yeah, now he's recovered from an injury. So I think I must have not actually put that on, which is not good. I'm not trying to look at anything here. Edit lines. You guys probably already saw who led the team in points. If you're actually looking, don't look. Come on. Be surprised with me at the end. There you go. We'll get Gianna back in here. Yeah, still missing Del Monte and Tulipov. Del Monte should be back in under a month now, which is good. Tulipov is still out till May with that upper body injury. Like, what really happened to that guy? Did he, like, break a rib or something? Like, what it said broken rib, though? Like, what kind of serious upper body injury could have happened to him? I'm very curious. Maybe he tore a pec or something. Who knows? I don't know. Let's continue to simulate. See what we get in terms of more wins. We're almost on 50 wins, so we're probably going to have our best regular season yet, which is also kind of scary. Oh, my goodness. Why did I mention ribs? Why did I mention ribs? Esteban Doig has been injured with injured ribs, and he'll be out until March the 13th. Well, that's going to get Ahinen in, but, man, some substantial injuries this season. And Doig is already back, so I guess it was a day-to-day injury with injured ribs. That's kind of surprising that it only lasted a day. You think the upper body injury would have lasted last time, but I guess his injured ribs weren't really injured. But that is kind of weird. So get Doig into the left wing spot again. See, he's not even fully healthy. He'll be okay considering it was just a day-to-day injury. Let me stop the sim here because I cannot see what's going on. I don't know why that's still a bug. It's been a bug for a while. But yeah, we're making the playoffs for sure with this season, which is great. And I think there is a chance we could be up there for President's Trophy contention, which is kind of not great in a sense when you think about the playoffs and all that. But this team has definitely done really well considering the injuries to like Del Monte and Tulipov. Like, we don't even have that much of a defensive core. But this head coach, I guess, is helping us win games a lot too. But we're going to maybe win the President's Trophy for the first time in franchise history. Depends on how good some other teams are doing. As Del Monte is back, but I know he's not fully healthy yet, so I'm going to keep him out. Because I'm pretty sure it's at April the 4th. So I would prefer to have him scratched and not playing right now as we lose 2 straight games. 56 wins on the season, no. We are currently the best team in the league. I think we might honestly have the President's Trophy pretty much locked up. There is still like 5-6 games left, though. So it's not until the end of the season, but Del Monte will be back for the last 3 regular season games, but we'll get him into that spot when he's fully healthy. Just because I do not want to risk losing that guy again for long term. We need all the healthy players we could get in the playoffs. There's another loss. Montreal's a win. Colorado. Can we beat them? Yes, we can. 9-2. And Del Monte should be back to fully healthy, so I'm not going to look at the player stats again. And we're going to edit lines again. Okay, good. Didn't see anything happening. Let's go back here again and get Doig back down to the 3rd line again. Bure's going to come back out, and we'll get Del Monte back in. That's good and ready to go. And the scratch people are almost the normal scratch people. Soon enough, once Tulipov is back, actually he'll be back in a month. So Semenov could be a death goaltender for us going into the playoffs. So I think that's okay. I could send him back down already, but waivers and all that, so don't want him to get claimed yet. I could send him down once the playoffs start, but maybe we do that, maybe we don't. So let's get through these last 3 games of the regular season. I think we probably have the President's Trophy locked up. Yeah, we definitely do at this rate, I think. So that is fantastic news in a way, but at the same time, it's a little bit scary because the playoffs, maybe we're going to get swept in the first round because of that. But, oh no, not Staubitz now too. Josiah Staubitz has been injured with injured ribs. Why did I mention ribs? And literally 2 of our players get injured ribs. It's only out till the 13th, so he could be back for the playoffs. But, oh man, I hate these injuries sometimes. Ilya Bure has now pulled his groin now too, so he won't be able to play for the playoffs. That's another substantial one. Out till the 20th. God damn, man. And last game before the playoffs, Staubitz is apparently back, but I don't think he's healthy yet. We win that one 3-1. So we have a 60-win season for the first time in franchise history. We go 60-19-3, and we have won our first ever President's Trophy by the span of 6 points, it looks like. So this is going to be interesting to take a look at some player stats on this, but Hopefully Stubwitz is fully healthy before the playoffs start. But let's take a look at some player stats, team stats, all that stuff. So in terms of, I already see the points with Ristolainen on the bottom. He already hit a 100-point season. That's why I gave him an extension already in place. Let's go to standings and see these stats here. So 60-win season, that's fantastic. Yeah, we won the entire league by a total of 6 points. And we are one of only like 7 teams with over 100 points this season. Interesting. Goals for per game, we were the 4th best offensive team in the league, so not the best, which is kind of surprising. But we probably are the best defensive. 2nd best defensive team behind the Columbus Blue Jackets. So despite the injuries on defense and also the backup goaltending, we played pretty well. So the additions of like Zach Hurd on the defense probably helped out a lot this season. Also maybe Cashman being a 4th-line center. Our power play percentage was okay. Top 10 in the league, 20.4%. And our penalty kill, 82.8, is outside of the top 10. That's kind of surprising based on our defensive record. So our penalty kill actually kind of needs some work a little bit. Only 4 shorthanded goals, 30 wins on home ice, 30 wins on the road. I'll definitely take that. 6-2-2 in our last 10 games. All right. Let's take a look at these player stats. Man, Risto, 103 points. Hopefully he's up there for a Selke again this season. Or maybe even something better like a Art Ross. But, yeah, big year from Ristolainen. 103 points, 51 goals as well for him. So that's a huge year in goals. Plus 46, 51 penalty minutes. So he almost had 51 goals, 51 assists, and 51 penalty minutes. But 1 more assist. That's kind of interesting. 10 game winning goals. And what about face-offs? 58.5%. 112 takeaways, 3 fights. Kari Ristolainen is fantastic still. Love to see it. And that's why he got a nice little extension. Because that's his career best year in goals, points, and probably a lot of other stats. I don't even know. Steen on 61 points. Not too bad for a second-line center. Obviously, he took over Bogosian's spot. -3. Not the best in terms of plus-minus, but he definitely brings the offense. Hopefully he can play better in the playoffs this upcoming year because last year he was pretty bad. Kim on 53 points, 27 goals. Not bad. He was only signed for 1 year, so I am a little bit worried that we might lose him soon because he's not the best player for the money he's trying to get, but he's okay. Peterson, 49 points, plus 24. That's actually really good. Did get some power play time this year. Very solid for a 3rd-line center. Also had some short-handed points. And then Cashman in his first season, 21 points. 8 goals, -3. Not bad. Not bad at all. Ahinen 1 assist in 5 games, -4. So yeah, Ahinen's not the best depth forward in the world, but hopefully we don't have to play him too much. Left wing side of things, Kolar's on 89 points, plus 42. That's a really good season for him. Capaduca on 41 points, 27 goals, plus 17. We did lock him up for 1 more season after this. 32 points from Del Monte in 42 games. So he was probably on pace to have his best year of his career if he didn't get injured, which kind of sucks. But at least he's back for the start of the playoffs. So we'll see what he's able to do in the postseason this year. He's dropped down to an 85, and I don't really know why. Ice time. Okay, so we got to see if we could get him back onto the power play, because I don't know if he's on the power play at the moment. And shout out to Ilya Bure, who was in as an injury replacement for a lot of the season. 21 points in 44 games. That's not bad. That's not bad. He is an old rookie, but I will definitely take. I definitely will take that. Dag on 12 points in 82 games. Not bad as a 4th-line option. Right wing side of things. Stelwitz on 98 points. Almost 100 points for Stelwitz, but he got injured right near the end of the season, which is unfortunate. Or else we would have had 2 100-point guys this year. So shout out to Josiah in the first year of that big extension that we gave him with all new movement clause. Doig on 45 points in 82 games. A bit of a low year for Doig. That's interesting. All right. Zetterberg on 21 points, -8. It's not bad from the offense. Defensive side of things, Norena actually had more points than Tuzolino. That is not what I expected to see. That is really weird. An 83 overall just beat out a 92 in scoring. And has a way better plus-minus as well. So shout out to Kai Norena, who has consistently been a pretty good offensive defenseman. This is his best year yet for sure with plus-minus and all that. So really like that. And yeah, with Tuzolino on 58 points. Then you had Bell on 21 points plus 24. Tulabov 18 points plus 21. Hurd in his first season 13 points plus 5. Lee was a plus 17 with 11 points. Whitfield had 10 points in 35 games and a plus 7 as a depth option. Not bad. Not bad at all. Goaltending. Spezza had a .916 save percentage this year, so Spezza has finally arrived during the regular season. I don't know if it's because he wants to get paid, but his last 3 seasons, nothing above a .900 save percentage. Then he plays good in the playoffs last year with a .916. Then this year, he brings the same effort during the regular season. Now he kind of deserves that type of money, but I don't know if I could afford to lock him up that much. But a really good year for Spezza. 3 assists as well. So he helped out the offense a bit too. And then we have Jason Giunta. And his first rookie season was playing so good before his injury, and then he came back. .922 save percentage for the backup goaltender. That's really good for a rookie. And he's probably ready to take that starting job almost from Spezza. So that's an interesting dynamic with those two. And at 7-off on an .876. Wasn't very good at all as a depth goaltender. All right. Let's take a look at stats around the league now. Who led the entire league in points? Connor McMichael. Wow, okay. So that's kind of realistic to real life because Connor McMichael's all of a sudden been really good. But 129 points playing next to Barkov. And I would assume Grabeshkov? No, Grabeshkov's in Chicago. Maybe Waugh? Yeah, it's Joshua Waugh. So their top line, McMichael, Barkov, and Waugh. Fantastic as shit, man. Ristolainen was a top 10 goal scorer, point scorer, I should say, in the regular season. And he also was a top 10 goal scorer behind guys like Kaprizov, Bedard, and Barkov. So, good year for Ristolainen. Not up there for any awards potential unless he's up there for a Selke. But, yeah, Connor McMichael leading the league in points is not what I had in mind. But, like I said, he's been really good in real life this season. Let's take a look at Selke candidates. I didn't want to go by fights, but shout out to Stasiak with 21 fights in Montreal. The most takeaways by a guy with good face-offs. Byron Legg. Maybe? Let's actually sort by face-offs. Face-off percentage, maybe. Maybe this will make it a bit easier. Ristolainen had the best face-off percentage in the entire league. What about the takeaways? Where is he in takeaways? So Byron Legg might be up there because of his takeaway numbers. But maybe Risto is up there because of his face-off percentage. Because his takeaways aren't terrible. Yeah, I wonder. Well, hopefully he's up there. Hopefully he wins another one. I don't know for sure if he will, but we didn't even put any expectations or goals on our players this year, and they all delivered quite well. So very impressed with that. Let's, so now we've seen that. Let's see who we're playing in the first round, I guess, of the playoffs. And hopefully we get that confirmation that Staubitz is healthy for the first game, which he won't be because it's game 1 is on the 12th. I don't think he's fully healthy yet. I just don't want him to get re-injured, but at least it was a low-risk injury, so we could put him back in. But at the same time, I don't really want to run Ahinen on that top line for the playoffs. Yeah, Staubitz isn't fully healthy yet, so do we wait? Probably wait 1 game, and then we get him in. Not too sure if that's a bit of a risk, though. In terms of a power play, though, I do want it to make an adjustment. Obviously, this is not where Zetterberg wouldn't be in this spot. This is where Staubitz would be. But Del Monte needs to be on this team's power play for sure. So we are going to take Ahinen off. And we're going to get Del Monte into this spot instead. So hopefully Del Monte could kind of get a little bit more happy with some more of his ice time. Because obviously he dropped down from an 88 to an 85. Don't want him to drop any more than that. So, alright. Let's take a look at the St. Louis Blues team we're going up against. I think, was it last year that we played them? I think it was, right? Last year in the conference finals that we lost to them? Or was it a round before that? I don't remember. Oh, no, it wasn't last year in the conference finals. It was last year in round 1 we actually beat them. That's right. So it is going to be a rematch, which is interesting. Let's take a look at what they're looking like now at this point in time. I'm assuming that they're pretty similar to last year, but obviously they could have made some adjustments. I should also take a look at how good Bogosian did this season for fun. But St. Louis looking like this. Peltier, Dvorsky, and Martone. Pretty good top line. Second line, Robert Thomas, not Vyacheslav, Valerie Kennens, and Doug Kincaid. A lowly that he drafted in the 22nd overall 3 years ago. Is this his first season? It is, okay, because I don't remember him from last year. Really good rookie season from this guy. All right. So there's Doug Kincaid. Mikhail Kabanov, Zach Bolduc, and Oscar Olsen, and a fourth line of Matteo Harvey, Morgan Frost, and Brandon Hagel. So this team is definitely still not the best on paper, but they're okay. Defensively, they still have that really good top two pairing, though, with Lapalainen and DuPont like they did last year. Kesselring's there with Theo Lindstein, Ola Ladine, and Vinny Iorio. In terms of the goaltending, Joel Hofer and Joshua Ravensburg. So not the best goaltending tandem either. This could be a cheese team, though, still. We got to be worried that we just won the President's Trophies, so this could be a cheese team with Ostapchuk, Danielson, and Velarde's depth, so I really hope that we don't get cheesed because our team definitely deserves to go far and get to a Cup Finals, but honestly, it could happen. I wouldn't be surprised if it did. But what was I going to take a look at again? Oh, yeah, how good Bogosian did in Calgary. I am actually pretty curious on that because obviously since he was in Carolina to start the season and then he got dealt, let's take a look at that. So, Jameson Bogosian, Calgary, and centers. 64 points in 81 games, minus 20. Calgary might have missed the playoffs too, despite acquiring Jameson Bogosian. Yeah, I think, oh my goodness. I knew his defensive stats were a liability. That's a rough year for him. He played 63 games in Carolina, had 55 points, which is pretty good, but minus 7. He gets dealt for 2 second rounders, only picks up 9 points in the next 18 games, and was a minus 13. Yikes. So his defensive results are still pretty bad on other teams, which makes sense, I guess, but yikes. Poor Bogosian, man. Poor Bogosian. So he's not going to be back in the playoffs this season, but damn. 64 points is pretty good, but obviously that's a huge drop-off, I would say, a bit from last year. And I'm kind of glad that we didn't pay him $9 million. So I kind of knew that he wasn't going to play good this season, but yeah, that defensive results still just as bad as they were with a drafted glory team, so that definitely means that he's not as strong on the defensive side of things. Alright, so now that that is done, final thing I want to take a look at is what this draft class ahead is looking like potentially, even though we don't care about the draft right now. It's a franchise player going first overall this year. Of course. Of course. Nicholas Bjorkstrand. Franchise playmaker. Like Wayne Gretzky, but a winger. Obviously, we're going to have a late pick this year again, but yeah, hopefully we can win a Stanley Cup, and then I don't care too much about the draft. I mean, there is some good players apparently later on. Alvin Ashton, lowly sniper. I think he's going to go before our spot, though. But fun to pin some of those guys in case. There's a Mimali DFD. Ooh, and Kuba. He is 19 now, but I'll pin him. Yeah, this might be an interesting draft class, despite us fighting around in the playoffs, so I like it. But anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this episode of our Albuquerque Aliens Draft to Glory franchise mode. So in next episode, we'll take it to round 1 against the St. Louis Blues as we look to beat them again like last year. And yeah, hopefully we don't get cheesed because we had such a great regular season. Hopefully we're good enough in the playoffs and we don't get swept for no reason because this team deserves to go at least to a conference finals. I think hopefully a cup finals is in our sights, but obviously depends if the game wants to give us a curse because we won the President's Trophy or not. So I think down below, and I'll see you guys next time.